and we're busy every day. But we're confusing activity with profitability, because when we look at the numbers, at the end of the day, we're not generating real revenue, meaning that we're either barely covering our expenses or we're running a deficit from month to month. And that's when being in business for yourself becomes toil. Question: if you own a business, are you finding yourself toiling in it or thriving in it? You know, we who are entrepreneurs tend to start our businesses for one of two basic reasons. Either we want time freedom or we want financial freedom. Financial freedom looks something like, making lots of money, being able to afford the lifestyle that we dream of, and being able to provide all the things for our family, our loved ones that we can imagine and that will just make them happy. Time freedom means I don't have to go ask my boss for time off, or I can work less days a week and have more time to have fun or spend time with my family, take vacations. I don't need to get permission to do those things. And those are great dreams. It's a beautiful vision. And that's what we start off with. But somewhere along the way, our activity goes from being fun to feeling more like toiling, where we're just grinding out each day, barely getting by, and eking out a living nowhere near where we thought we wanted things to be. So what that looks like is we're posting content, we're shooting and editing videos, we're tweaking logos, we're tweaking websites, we're building funnels, all of those things that everybody says that we should be doing, and we're busy every day. But we're confusing activity with profitability, because when we look at the numbers, at the end of the day, we're not generating real revenue, meaning that we're either barely covering our expenses or we're running a deficit from month to month. And that's when being in business for yourself becomes toil instead of thriving the way we originally envisioned it to be. So here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of entrepreneurs spend their time being busy, but they're not actually productive. And productive means that you're booking appointments, you're having discovery calls, and you're getting clients. You're not doing all of those other things constantly and solely, while they may be important, but you're not just devoted to doing those things and just grinding in the hamster wheel day after day, where the meaningful stuff starts to get away from you. So the question is, what do you need to do in order to get off of that feeling of toiling to get back into one of thriving and profitability? Well, there are 3 questions that you need to ask yourself in order to make sure that you stay on that wheel of profitability and you get off of that toiling feeling. So, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what do I want my business to achieve? In other words, what is this all about? Now, a lot of people might have a lot of grand ideas about that. They might say things like, I want it to grow, I want it to be a big success, I want to make it big, but those are really nebulous, foggy dreams and goals that you may have. In order to really answer that question, you have to get specific. So when you say, what do I want my business to achieve? You need to get out a pen and paper and you need to write down very specific things. You need to say, well, I want my business to generate $20,000 in revenue every month. Or you say, I want my business to allow me to only work 4 days a week so that I have more time to spend either in recreation or with my family. Or you might say, I want 50 regular paying clients. See, these are very specific things that you can measure numerically. You know when you've gotten there. You know when you're down to working comfortably 4 days a week. You know when $20,000 a month is coming in, and you know when you have 50 clients. So these are very specific things that you have to write down and aim for. So this is what I mean when I say answering the question, what do I want my business to achieve? Now, you might have other things in there. Maybe you want your business to also to achieve donating a specific amount of money every month to a cause that's very near and dear to you. That might be something that you want to do. Maybe you want your business to be putting on a certain number of live events every month. And those can be virtual events or in-person events. But you have to take the time to write down those things and define them so you know what you're aiming at. Otherwise, it's easy to get off track and start doing the recording of the videos, or the editing, or the designing the logo, or exploring some other revenue stream that you might feel compelled to pursue because what you're doing right now isn't bringing in the money that it needs to be bringing in. So number one, answer the question, what do I want my business to achieve? And be very specific with your answers. Now, once you know what those things are that you want your business to achieve, every day you need to ask this question. Is this thing that I'm about to do moving me closer toward my goal or further away from my goal? And once you answer that clearly, it becomes easy to say no to the things that are moving you further away and yes to the activities that are getting you closer there. All right, next question you need to answer is, why do I want it? See, a lot of people get into this thinking they know why they want to be in business for themselves, but then they really haven't answered the question, why do they want it? And answers to those questions could be, well, I want to have the feeling of knowing that I created something out of nothing and made something successful. I want to have the feeling of knowing that I have impact on hundreds, thousands of people's lives every day, every month, every year, whatever the case may be. I want to have the respect of my family when they look at me and they see that I've created something successful. Maybe it's about creating generational wealth for your family because you know that you want to leave an inheritance for your children. You want to be able to provide for them. And in the case that you eventually pass away, because death is going to come calling for all of us, you now have the means to say that dad or pop created this money and we never have to worry about money again. Generational wealth is a huge thing nowadays and very important to some people. So, what is your why? You need to sit down again with pen and paper and define clearly what is your why? Why am I into this? Why am I doing it? And then once you answer that question, you can answer other questions. Well, how will this make me feel? What will it do for my family? Things like those that will also be additional spurs for action when the going gets tough, because trust me, bad days will come and you will need that extra why to keep you going when the going gets tough, when the path becomes unclear. And again, once it gets tough, and you have those whys to look for, then that will be the reason why you need to keep going, not give up, and engage in the activities that you need to engage in on a day-to-day basis. Now, the last question you need to ask is, what is my real action plan? In other words, what are the specific activities I need to engage in order to realize my vision of $20,000 in revenue a month, of getting 50 clients, of being able to reduce my workload down to 4 days a week so that I have that 3-day weekend that I've always been dreaming of. So now, what does that massive action plan need to include? Well, it needs to include 3 things that drive revenue. You need to engage in activity that's going to generate leads. You need to engage in activity that's going to bring appointments and start conversations. And number 3, you need to engage in activity that's going to lead those conversations to making actual offers. And this is where entrepreneurs, business owners get hung up, because they kind of freeze up when it comes time to do this action, because they don't actually have a plan. They don't actually have a set amount of activities every day that they need to engage in order to reach their goals. So they're kind of drifting along. They're not being guided, and it's easy to get off track and get into those things that provide a refuge where, well, I can do this and it feels good and I feel like I'm being busy, but you're running away from doing the real things that need to be done. So, number 1, what are you doing to actually generate leads? Are you creating content that is valuable, that makes people position you as an authority in your marketplace in their minds, keep you top of mind, so that when it comes time for them to have a need for what you do, then they think of you first? Number 2, are you providing a means of starting conversations? Do you have a calendar scheduling system on your website, and are you driving people to it so that they can schedule appointments with you to have actual productive conversations where you can uncover what their needs are and how you might be able to help them to remove the challenges that are holding them back and help them to achieve their goals? And number 3, are you actually making offers on a daily basis? If you are not making a specific number of offers on a daily basis, you are not driving sales. And if you are not driving sales, you are not driving revenue. And now it is becoming toil, because this is becoming something that is not providing for you and is just more like a hobby, and in a worst case scenario, a chore that you no longer find joy in. Because look, guys, at the end of the day, you need revenue. That's what keeps the lights on, that's what pays the bills, and that's what allows you the time freedom to do the things that you want to do and provide for your family the way you want to provide. So, remember, what is it that you want your business to achieve? Why do you want these things? And what is your actual plan for getting these things? If you can answer these questions, then on a day-to-day basis, you can refer back to this and always ask yourself, is what I'm about to do in line with these 3 questions, these 3 things? If not, then no, I don't have to do this. I can either put it off or delegate it to someone else. If yes, then I need to throw myself into this and do it as the person that I envision myself being, as a successful person and an authority in the area that I choose to follow. All right, guys, that's it. So if you are a business owner, understand it's challenging. You can easily get off track, but you can get back on track by answering these 3 questions and following the process that I just laid out. Now, if you feel you would need more help in getting focused, getting profitable, staying on track, making sure you're engaging in the daily activities you need to be engaging in order to be profitable, and stop toiling and start being profitable and happy in your business, then please go to my website at intentionalmoneysolutions.com and schedule a discovery session with me. And there we can actually dig in, answer those questions, and find out what you need to do in order to move from toil to taking charge of your time and your life. All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed what I presented to you. Share it with someone else that you might feel needs this also. Please remember to like and subscribe so that I can continue to make more content like this. And guys, I will hope you have a great day, a beautiful week, and I will see you again soon.